there should be no exchange of blood cells across those barriers. Nutrients, electrolytes, hormones, things like that, and antibodies too can cross, etc. But not the blood cells. But let's suppose that there is, doesn't always happen now, but let's suppose there's bleeding and the baby's Rh positive blood cells bleed into the mom's bloodstream. Isn't that kind of like a mini transfusion? If they keep pouring into her bloodstream, what's her body going to do?
Attack them.
Our immune system's going to say, whoa, we've got a problem here. We've got foreign blood in here. Let's produce antibodies to take care of it. Okay?
So would that make it more dangerous the next baby she has then?
Exactly.
So that one, the first one would be okay?
Yeah, the first one would be okay, but in the meantime, that first child, that first Rh positive child, assuming it is one, of course, as sensitized she will be sensitized and her plasma will then contain anti-Rh antibodies.
Doesn't she still have to get the Rogan shot before she delivers
Should.
her first child?
Yeah, that could, that's, let's suppose she doesn't though.
Oh, okay.
We're supposing now she doesn't get that benefit, okay? And then her blood will become sensitized. If she gets the Rogan, likely not.
I was gonna ask, like that was to happen, but it's like, let's say they realize this is happening, she hasn't had the Rogan shot, but they know now that she's coming again. Do they something to that? I mean, I just don't know. Do they give her?
Well, the thing they should have given her, though, to begin with, is the Rogan, which would have prevented the sensitization. Once she's sensitized, her immune system can still produce the anti-Rh antibodies. Now, whether they can treat the baby in utero or something for the next one or something to save it, they have done those cases. And sometimes the baby doesn't die; it can be born, but yet have issues. It doesn't mean it's going to die in utero or anything like that. But the thing you must do is prevent it from happening to begin with, and today we do that. There's no problem there. But once it's done, she's going to produce those antibodies. Because you get a population of lymphocytes that can keep making them. That's the problem here. So, Rh negative mom, Rh positive baby's blood sensitizes her. Then, to say the first child is not harmed, the mother's, John, but the mother's antibodies, and of course they're anti-Rh antibodies, that were produced in response to the first baby, they can easily cross the placenta, that is the blood barrier there between mom and baby. The antibodies can flood right back into the second baby's blood, if the second baby is positive. If the second baby is negative, there should be no problem. But if that second baby is also positive, she already has a load of antibodies that can circulate right into the uterus, right into the circulation of the second child, and destroy its blood right in the uterus. What I'm going to write here is, without writing the long word, I'm going to say clump, and destroy the second Rh baby's blood. And we're already talking about how this can be prevented. And this is not an easy thing to understand. I think this is fairly straightforward. You got a negative mom, Rh positive baby's blood goes into her blood, first one that is. She's sensitized, first baby's born with no problem. Along comes a second positive child. She now has antibodies from the first one that can then cause the damage to the second Rh positive baby. But how it's stopped, I think it's been with us since the early 60s or so, is by administering anti-Rh antibodies a serum by shots before the baby's born, even after it's born. They do that too. This is called Rh gamma globulin is what that refers to. Now you say, wait a minute. We're going to give the mother antibodies that can destroy blood cells. The key is she has not yet been sensitized. Those antibodies you administer are going to protect the mother. How does that happen? Well, you give her RhoGAM. Here's this Rh positive baby in her blood. Any Rh positive cells that would leave the baby's blood and enter the mom's blood, she now has anti-Rh antibodies which can systematically destroy those cells. Not in such a way it's going to cause a tremendous reaction. Now, you still have the antigen-antibody interaction occurring, but it's not as severe as if the baby's blood had fully sensitized her, of course. That prevents her immune system from creating these antibodies, which could harm the next child. And so it's kind of like she's getting them as they're coming in. It's a line of defense in her own body, an ingenious method of taking care of this. So you are artificially giving this mother a serum, an antibody serum, giving her anti-Rh antibodies that can destroy that Rh positive baby's blood as it enters her. And I know my daughter had this procedure because she's negative and her daughter was positive, granddaughter. And so they gave her RhoGAM both right before birth and even afterwards to take care of any cells that might, baby cells that might have, my granddaughter's cells that might have entered her blood. So, do you follow me on this? This is, I think the essence of Rh incompatibility is okay, but the RhoGAM thing may be a little bit daunting to you as to how that can do it.
Is this why they used to do blood tests to get married?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's
Yeah, now you can take care of the problem. I mean, not everybody in the world gets benefit from this, of course, but when you have this medicine, this RhoGAM, you can. I have no idea. I have no idea what this stuff costs or anything. Some of you may know more than I do about that. You've been involved in medicine or whatever. But it's an ingenious method of taking care of a problem that could be very serious. I like this picture here because this tells you one picture, what I've said, in a bunch of words, right? Here's the baby's blood, Rh positive entering the mother's blood. Like little devils there. These are the anti-Rh antibodies that she's created. Here's the second child. We come right in and start zapping that second child's blood. It's not, remember, it's not the first child. It's the second one. And it may not be the first child that's sensitized. She might have the first child that's negative. No problem. I'm not saying it's definitely always going to be the first and second. She might have a child that's negative, no problem. Her second child may be positive and affect the third child. It's whenever that positive child comes along and does the thing. It's not always going to happen either, because the baby's blood isn't always going to bleed into the mom. It's not a 100% thing. With RhoGAM, we can pretty much take care of it, which is awfully good. Let's briefly talk about white cells. We've done it in labs, so that's pretty easy stuff, really. What am I going to write here? Unlike blank, they have nuclei and other organelles. Always forget to hit pen. Unlike RBCs. The functions of whites would be to protect, from infection, infectious organisms, toxins, and obviously, et cetera. A lot of different things they protect you from. And defense would be a good word for what they do. They defend the body against pathogens, various infectious organisms, parasites,
What's they also
Like
call it,
that?
leukocytes?
toxic materials. And that's being
Like the
very
first
brief,
one,
of
that
course.
it's supposed to be.
What you are learning in lab is
It
a
says
little
also
bit
called
more
in the
specifics
technical
about
form.
what different whites will do. Okay? And how they do it. But that's basically what we're talking about here. Putting it in very simplistic terms. Protection, or again, we can use the word defense. Where are most of the white blood cells in your body, do you know? Look at the book, you would see that, but it probably isn't
Once on
obvious
it.
to you. Most of them are in your connective tissues. Because they leave the blood and enter your tissues to help do what they're going to do, okay? So smaller numbers are actually in your blood, and you remember from lab what the whole count is that I gave you, right? It doesn't match with your book exactly. We'll say 5,000 to 10,000. We'll just symbolize it. Let's say per, what does that mean? Micrometer. Yeah. I think the book says 6 to 9, doesn't it? Well, 5 to 10 is a little bit broader, and I shouldn't say it's better than the book, it's just different. Criticize your book if you want. It's a very good book. So, most in your connective tissue, you know from lab, it's 5 to 10,000. We don't need to dwell on that any longer, so we'll clear out. I don't mean leave the class, I mean the characteristics of circulating white blood cells. Number one, they display what is called a amoeboid movement. Can anyway. What does that mean? How does an amoeba move? I don't know if you've ever seen one or noticed it. They're a cell that kind of flows along. And they put out little extensions of the cell and flow into it. They don't have legs or flagellae or cilia or anything like that. They just have this flowy motion. So very much amoeboid, much like an amoeba as far as their movement is concerned. One, they can and do, of course, as implied before, can leave the bloodstream, because most of them end up outside the blood. Not all of them, but there are three particularly that are phagocytes. They may be phagocytes. Everybody knows what a phagocyte is. If you don't, please say so. I mean, I've no shame in not knowing what a word means in here. You know, you've heard it before, you may have forgotten. What is a phagocyte? It's a cell
That eats.
that eats other cells. A lot of the cells that would be eaten in your body are bacteria, parasites, but even your own cells can be consumed by phagocytes too. And you could say other things about them, how they're attracted to the area that they're going to defend and so on, but I think these 3 points about their characteristics would be sufficient. Amoeboid movement, can leave the blood, regularly do that. Like if you get an infection someplace, you might have neutrophils out there already, but more of them will be recruited and will literally crawl out of your bloodstream through your little capillaries and into the area that's infected. So that's what I mean by leaving the blood. When they get out there, they can start consuming the infectious, let's say it is bacteria, and take care of them for you. Did I clear too quickly? Sure? We know what a differential count is by now. We should know that for the quiz this week, as well as the test that's coming up, of course. And it's not a totally to the point type of diagnostic tool, but it can let you know that if certain white blood cells are elevated or too low, that there may be something that they need to investigate further, or there's an infection or whatever. We'll leave the differential thing to lab as far as learning the specific numbers. But you all know the little saying for it, don't you? Never let monkeys eat bananas. I'm telling you, don't ever do that. Got problems. So that's more lab work there. We do need to very quickly and hopefully finish this next time. We're not going to get all of it today. But you do recall the hemocytoblasts that make all the different cells, of course. And in turn, hemocytoblasts produce myeloid stems, repeating it again. Somewhere I lost my nervousness along the way. I don't know. Myeloid